Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is 11 o'clock local time here in Kyiv on March 18th, day 1119 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the Live at 5 from Kyiv, which it shouldn't be. I should not be able to go live. Hey, Steve Kennedy. Hey, Mel. Hey, Roy Daniels. Hey, PH. How's everybody doing? Hey, Nightshade. Otan Bot. Hey, Norway. So, look, guys, you might have been on the live last week when I got banned, and that was Tuesday night. It was Tuesday night at 11:45 our time, so I shouldn't be able to go live until 11:45 tonight. Yet here I am able to go live. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Bjorn. How you doing, pal? So I just tried to see if I could go live, and here we are. So everybody ignore those messages that I would be live at 6. How's everybody doing tonight? It is quite a day, boy. Oh, my God. I'm out of my mind. You might hear some pops and bangs. The air defense is active. Hey, James. How's life in Sweden, Bjorn? How's everybody doing tonight? Hey, Eli. Hey, Steve with a V. Alex. Betty Thompson, how you been? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mel. That's a terrible term, isn't it? You know, human beings are never redundant. That's ridiculous. Ciao, bello. Hey, Jackie. So, guys, by the mercy of the TikTok gods, we are live at the appropriate time. And hey, Eric. We are live at the appropriate time. And I'll try to bring you up to date on what is known. Because, well, all right, a couple things first. Last night, the Russian Federation sent 137 drones and decoys at the territory of Ukraine. Of that 137, 127 were either shot down or taken out with electronic warfare. And we saw something very interesting last night. For the first time in a long time, if it's even happened before, I'm not sure that it has. The Ukrainians are reporting that they took out 64 simulator drones, decoys, and they shot down 63. Now, you've noticed, if you follow the channel, right, that about half of the drones that Russia sends every day are decoys. But it's very unusual to see the decoys taken out exceed the attack drones. Very unusual. And it's only by a margin of 1, and we don't know what the other 10 were, but still. Hey, Michael. Hey, Van. So, again, 127 out of 137 last night. That's almost a 93% interception rate. I think it's 92.7, something like that. Hey, Pugga Mahone. How's life in Germany? How you feeling under Mertz? Pretty good? Hey, Feisty. Now, right now, at this very minute, air defense is active. We are under a drone attack. We are under an air alert, etc. And we know, or we believe, I think you're right, Steve. I do think that's what it is. Hey, Darlene. Hey, Laddie. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Laddie. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Pugga Mahone. He's still not in action, but he got 3 billion euros for Ukraine today. right? That's a big deal. Hey, Chris Carter. So we're on the right track there, I'd say. I would say that's definitely on the right track. Now, as I understand it, and I'm not sure that we really have an official word on this, but as I understand it, in their hour-and-a-half phone call today, Trump and Putin agreed no more attacks on energy infrastructure. And according to some sources, he told Trump that he had ordered his forces not to attack energy infrastructure in Ukraine. That promise lasted less than 3 hours. We know that much for sure. Right now, Sloviansk is in the dark. The power plant in Sloviansk was hit. And this whole nonsense of trying to talk to Putin, of trying to make a deal with Putin. You can't negotiate with terrorists. It's a waste of everybody's fucking time. And, well, Trump is, that's one way to look at it, Nightshade, right? He didn't say anything about hospitals, schools, and civilians. Half the country is under an air alert right now. He's complicit. He's absolutely complicit, Steve. We got to stop fooling ourselves that he's not in up to his ass to Putin, right? The re-election of Donald Trump was Vladimir Putin's greatest achievement ever. Trump is in Putin's pocket. There's no two ways about it. And the American public needs to figure out what they're going to do about it, because the mechanisms of government are failing. The Democrats are just either complicit or too weak to get anything done. And that's a problem. That's a fucking problem. The country is literally going to go. I mean, look at this guy. Trying to cancel Biden's pardons, ignoring the Constitution, wiping his ass with the Constitution every fucking day. It's unreal. It's unreal. Anyway, so now we're getting some interesting and conflicting reports. So Kyiv is very silent about some of these reports. But Kyiv did confirm that the Russians attempted to cross the border in Sumy. There's been talk of the Russians preparing a new front line, a new offensive in Sumy region. Apparently, they did try to cross the border today with some weight. According to the reports here in Kyiv, the Russians were repelled. Crossing the border, especially there in Sumy, is going to be very difficult for the Russians. The border is heavily defended. It is heavily mined. And it's not hospitable. It's not hospitable terrain. It's swampy. It's muddy. It's wet. Even now, the temperature is just hovering around freezing. And hold on one second, sorry. And so there's a lot of mud out there. Hey, Thomas. Now, so it appears as though there is a bunch of cross-border activity today, with the Russians trying to come into Ukraine and Sumy and being repelled, according to the Ukrainian forces. And then we're getting these reports from the Russian Ministry of Defense that the Ukrainians are attempting an offensive into Belgorod. Now, we just saw the Ukrainians pretty much run out of Kursk. And we heard Donald Trump repeat the lie that Ukrainians are surrounded in Kursk. This is bullshit. The Ukrainians retrenched in Kursk. They're not out of Kursk yet, right? They did a withdrawal under fire. They did a number of really clever things to disrupt the Russian advances and to cause the Russians as much pain as they could as they were getting out of Sumy. As they were getting out of Kursk. But to the best of my knowledge, and according to deep state maps, the Ukrainians are still in Kursk. And now tonight, we're getting reports of a Belgorod offensive. Right? Shark is saying Ukrainian forces just regrouped to better position in Kursk. It appears that that may be the case. This move into Belgorod may even be a pincer move to encircle the Russian troops that, according to Putin and Trump, had encircled the Ukrainians. I mean, that would be an irony, right? Like, that would be one of the most beautiful ironies of the war. If the Russians were making the claim that they had the Ukrainians surrounded, and then the Ukrainians backdoored them through Belgorod. Now, look, I don't know that that's happening. Nobody really knows what's happening. But that's the right place to do it if that's what you were going to do. That's the right place to do it. Now, again, that's pure supposition on my part. We don't even know if the Ukrainians have really gone into Belgorod because the only sources on this are the Russians. Now, the Russians, for their part, the Russian MOD, is making the claim that as many as 2 battalions, or about 4,000 Ukrainian troops, with heavy metal, right, tanks and armor, that the Russians are making the claim that the Ukrainians, with about 2,000 to 4,000 troops and lots of heavy metal, have made this incursion into Belgorod and have been rebuffed. Again, our only source for this is the Russians. Kyiv is completely silent about Belgorod. Kyiv is confirming the Sumy incursion, but saying nothing about Belgorod. I would remind everybody that when the Ukrainians went into Kursk, the Russians denied their existence there or claimed that they had forced them out for like the first couple weeks. Remember? So the idea that the Ukrainians might be trying to go into Belgorod, and again, maybe backdoor the Russians in Kursk, is a perfectly reasonable strategic move. We just don't know what's happening, right? We just don't really know what's happening yet. Although I would agree with Alpha Kiri that everything from Russia is a lie. Yes, I would agree with that. Now, Bobby asked a question about vehicle losses during the withdrawal under fire from Kursk. And Bobby, the short answer that I have for you is I don't know. You can be sure that some equipment was left behind. There was a video of that I saw of the Russians showing off a cache of armaments that the Ukrainians had not been able to get out in time. And so certainly some equipment, some weapons, some arms and ammo have been left behind. Withdrawing under fire is about the hardest thing, as I understand it, you can do in warfare. But the withdrawal does appear to have been orderly and saved Ukrainian lives. What happened next is unclear. Now, one of the things that we've seen the Russians do many times is steal Ukrainian video and claim it's theirs, right? There is this video from Kursk. It's like a nightmare, apocalyptic scene. The guy is driving down the road. Now, it's a Russian officer or a Russian soldier driving down the road, and he's filming, right? And it's just one destroyed vehicle after another. It's a vehicle graveyard. But here's the thing. What kind of vehicles are they? Right? Because, Bobby, if you look at the vehicles, you can tell whether they're Ukrainian or they're Russian, right? For the most part. They both use the same kind of tanks. They both use the BTRs. They both, right? But you know what the Ukrainians don't use to go into battle on? Is ATVs and motorcycles and e-scooters and Desert Cross buggies. And when you look at the vehicles that are along that road of death, it's those kinds of vehicles, just one after another. So I think it's entirely possible that the Russians put out the story that the Ukrainians lost all these vehicles because the Russians have lost all those vehicles, right? Every accusation from the Kremlin is a confession. Now, Kelvin asked the question about intelligence because one of the demands that Moscow is making, I mean, look, you look at these demands from Russia, right? Ukraine must not receive any more weapons deliveries. Ukraine must not receive any more intelligence. Ukraine must not build its army. Ukraine must be demilitarized. For us to even sit down and talk, Russia is making all of these demands that Ukraine essentially surrender. Well, I think we all know that's not going to happen. Especially not when Russia is in such bad shape. One camel, Burke and Hare, that we know of, right? Mostly it's horses, mules, and donkeys. Mostly donkeys. Some horses and mules. And at least one camel. At least one. At least. At least one, what are they called? The two-hump ones. The biractins or whatever. The two humps. Two humps. So the question about intelligence. Russia is demanding that I think dromedary's one hump, isn't it? Am I wrong, Nightshade? I thought dromedary was one hump, and the other ones are biractins, bicacrins, bitractins, Bactrians. Thank you, Nightshade. You're the best. Bactrians. Okay, so now intelligence. Russia's demanding that it all stop. And Kelvin asked the very reasonable question, can't the French, Germans, and British provide intelligence? They can, right? And in fact, Sébastien Lecornu, the French defense minister, has said that it would begin intelligence sharing with Ukraine to make up for the gap in American intelligence. Here's the thing. And while it's true that there are other allies that could help Ukraine, the fact is that the United States has more spy satellites than pretty much the rest of the world combined. If you want real-time troop movements on the ground, if you want to know what's embroidered in the caps of those guys on the ground, you want to know it's the 55th or the 810th Marine Division. You want to know that. You're going to need American satellites and intelligence. So while it's a great question, Kelvin, I'm with you, pal. The problem is there's no replacement for American intelligence. Now, there are analysts who have suggested that the only reason Kursk is in the condition it's in is because America stopped intelligence sharing in the first place, right? There was that period of about 72 hours where the Ukrainians weren't getting any American intelligence. It's been suggested that because of that lack of intelligence, the Ukrainians were caught unawares, and that's what lost them Kursk. Now, I listen to a lot of analysts to get ready for these lives and to do the videos that I do. And I got to tell you, the analysts, the best ones that I listen to, are split on this issue. It could be that the Ukrainians were caught unprepared for that massive attack in the south that cut the salient to the north off from the south. It is possible. What is clear, what nobody disagrees about, is that regardless of whether or not the lack of intelligence sharing affected the Ukrainians, the Russians certainly thought that they had an opportunity and that they should seize it. And that clearly happened. Now, Bobby mentions there, I read that Russia saturated Kursk with drones. They did, Bobby, and it wasn't just any drones. It was the Rubicon drone division of the Russian Federation forces. Now, we talk a lot about like Magyar's birds and Edelweiss and different drone brigades in Ukraine. But I don't think we've ever talked about Rubicon. Rubicon is like Russia's Magyar birds. They're the ones that are innovating. They're the ones that are dangerous on the line. And and despite all of the drone jamming equipment that the Ukrainians have in Kursk, that they have used repeatedly in Kursk to make advances, what Rubicon specializes in are fiber optic hardwired drones. And so we had a situation evolve in Kursk where not only did you have 1,500 fresh North Korean gunners and their equipment, the Koksan 170 millimeter guns. These are self-propelled North Korean howitzer that the North Korean gunners brought with them. So not only did you have 150 brand new Koksan 170 millimeter guns run by North Korean gunners come in, you had as many as 4,000 North Korean troops on the ground, plus the Rubicon Brigade in the air. It's a massive attack, massive attack. And again, we do not know whether or not U.S. lack of intelligence sharing hurt the Ukrainians that much there, if it caught them unawares or not. And I'll tell you something, I find it hard to believe the Ukrainians were caught too unawares. They've got millions, literally, of reconnaissance drones of their own in the air. Not only that, the Ukrainians pulled a number of maneuvers that hurt the Russians badly during the withdrawal. So they had guys stay behind, right? And then those guys ambushed the North Koreans or the Russians that were coming in, providing cover for the withdrawing forces. You had the ambushes. You had, you think the sky is full of Russian drones up there. As I understand it, the sky was alive, buzzing with Ukrainian drones as well. What else did they do? Oh, they did not fall back in certain areas, but they used coded transceivers to convince the enemy that they had withdrawn from their captured, I guess, radio equipment. Convinced the enemy that they had withdrawn from there, and then they drew them into a kill zone and eliminated them. What else? There was a third maneuver too, but it escapes me just now. But really stunning, well prepared, well coordinated efforts to undermine and eliminate, cause as much damage to the Russian offensive as they could. And it seems to have been fairly successful, especially if it turns out that it's true that this backdoor Belgorod maneuver is happening. And we'll just have to wait. Right, there's lots of chatter on the Telegram channels. Very little of it is worth repeating. Until we get some official word from the Ukrainians, maybe see some video about what's happening in Belgorod, I don't want to get our hopes up too much. Right. Now, just while we're here at this moment, let me take a minute and thank Arn, who is lots of fog of war, Kansas Steve. The fog of war is thick today. Yes, it did. Now, let me thank Arn, who is the sponsor of tonight's live, Nightshade, who has the Peter's Peeps group on the Book of Faces, and Lars, who has the Discord server. And let me show you these just by way of something kind of interesting. I just got these MREs. These are actual Ukrainian. I don't know if you can read that. It's all in Ukrainian. But this is what the guys at the front actually eat. And I don't know if you can see the expiration date just passed the 22nd of February. But I am not worried about that. I'm going to eat these. I'm going to try them. There's pork, chicken, and beef kasha. Maybe I'll make a video. We'll cook them up together and we'll see if they're any good. I'm sure they're terrible, right? They can't be any good. Yes, Shark, I will definitely do that. I know, Chef Deb, I'm sorry. If you're a Patreon subscriber, please watch my Patreon content. Guys, I'm producing more and, in my opinion, better content there than I am on TikTok these days. Right, Nightshade, they're bad enough in date. No, they won't be rotten. I've eaten MREs that were 2 years past expiration date. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I did see that, Jax. I saw the Ukrainians throw a beehive into a trench when they ran out of grenades. I did see that. Good for them. So again, now Chef Deb, you guys might have seen the video of the flag. Chef Deb and Kansas Steve both sent me pictures of their Ukrainian flags hanging in front of their homes. If you have any kind of a display like that, if you have a Ukrainian flag, if you have yellow and blue ribbon around your trees out front, anything that I can show the Ukrainians that Americans are standing with them, those flags, those Ukrainian flags on American households, or on your car, Judy, send me a picture, are like ripples of hope in the world. Everybody who sees them is reminded of what's really going on here. And we're in a situation where the U.S. federal system has been subverted by a creature of the Kremlin. The very democracy that we all grew up taking for granted is under threat. It's under threat. And we got to figure out what to do about that. Vinificum, don't feed the trolls. I've already blocked them. But thank you. Anybody who's got, how do you send it to me? Somebody asked, Judy, how do you send it to me? My email address is in the bio right here. You can send it there at Peter, Pytor, Pytor, Alexievich. I'm sorry, it's a terrible name. I know. But there's that. You can send it me there. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm exhausted. That's why when I saw I could go live at 11, I did. Because I could really use 8 hours of sleep. Now, Jax, if you can take some pictures of like a street lined with Ukrainian flags, please send them. The Nobody Bat? I don't know what that is, Outcast. Sorry. Thanks, Jax. And if you can't find my email address, just send me a message, a direct message here on TikTok, and I'll send you my email address. So we don't know what's going on at the border. That's the long and the short of it. As that situation develops, I'll try to publish videos and let you know what we know. In other news today, let's see what else we got here. The ruble has really rebounded. It's back up. The Nobody Battalion Ukraine. And I have no idea what that is. No. Mel wants to talk about the new Neptune upgrade. So, as probably a lot of us know, Ukraine had a homegrown missile system, a ship-to-ship missile called the Neptune. When the full-scale invasion happened, they adapted the Neptune for ground-to-ground attacks. And I think maybe air-to-ground attacks too. I'm not sure about the second one. But Ukrainian ingenuity, Ukrainian innovation, they took what they had and they made it do something else. Smart. Now, Mel is quite right to ask about the second generation of these Neptunes because Moscow is now in range with them. You are right, Mel. The new long-range Neptunes are said to have a range of 1,000 kilometers. The oil refinery in Tuapse, Russia, Krasnodar Krai, is still on fire 4 days after it was hit with a long-range Neptune. Which goes to the point that, the drones are great and everything, but they don't have the punch of a cruise missile. They don't have the punch of a ballistic missile or a Fab 500. Right? So the damage that they do is limited. That's why even when these refineries get hit once, twice, 3 times, they don't stop working. Only 2 of the 20 refineries that have been hit by Ukrainian drones are shut down. And another 2, or maybe 3 now, are running at reduced capacity. So Ukraine needs missiles. That's why having the ATACMS, having the Storm Shadows, having the Scalps was so important to them. That's a great question, Mel. So Mel says, wait until the Ukrainians get their intermediate range ballistic missile into full production. The difficulty is we don't know when that's going to happen. We don't even know how many they have, if they have more than one, or if it's only the 2 prototypes. We just don't know. Trump is helping Putin in every way he can. Make no bones about it, Giselle. Hey, Maddie, right? Now, in the dominoes to watch, right, because there's lots of dominoes to watch, Shark says something interesting here. He says, thanks, Craig. He says, don't worry about Estonia. Estonia's in NATO. Next will be Kazakhstan, 75%. Maybe. I'm not sure about that. My money would be on Moldova or Georgia, although Georgia's basically subverted at this time. And then probably after that, the Baltic states or Poland. But we shall see. These are all dominoes to watch. You know, Kazakhstan is pretty much still under Moscow's thumb, although they are making moves away from there. There does seem to be an emerging power center in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan has talked real tough to the Kremlin, and the Kremlin has sat up and taken notice. In a good way, right? Like they've given them everything they want. The Azeris, at the same time, have courted the Kazakhs, and now 80% of the oil that used to run from Kazakhstan through the Caspian Consortium pipeline to be loaded onto ships in the Black Sea by Russia. 80% of that oil is going through Azerbaijan now. And the Kazakhs have done some other kind of needly things to the Russians. My favorite was at the summit of former Soviet states. The president of Kazakhstan gave a speech, and he gave it in Kazakh. Watching the Russian delegation scramble for their translator headsets so that they knew what the guy was saying was worth the price of admission, boy. Worth the price of admission. So, the Baltic states are also greatly at risk. And, you know, on that point of the Baltic states being at risk, it's worth mentioning that Trump and Putin together are making the world less and less safe every day. Given the current uncertainty of the security situation, today, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Poland all withdrew from the Ottawa Convention on Landmines. So the protection that the modern world has had from the distribution of anti-personnel mines, which are extremely dangerous to civilians, as well as to soldiery alike, it's disappearing in those countries. Now, the Baltic states and Poland, because they're butt up against the union state of Belarus and Russia, they want to mine their borders, and who can blame them? When you have the threat of Russians coming over the border, why wouldn't you want to put up 3 rows of barbed wire and some landmines? But it's making the world a less safe place. As far as Taurus goes, Mertz ran on a platform that promised that he would send Taurus to Ukraine as soon as he was elected, or as soon as he was in office. We shall see if he sticks to that. We shall see. The idea of a Putin-Trump Molotov-Ribbentrop pact, I think it's clear that they have one. I think it's clear. I think Trump has an imperial ambition to unite North America, Canada, Mexico, Greenland, all the way down to Panama. He sees that as his kingdom to be conquered. While Putin, of course, gets Europe. Think about the dismissive, contemptuous way that Trump talks about the Europeans. Bip hits it on the head. Now is the time for countries and powers to stand up to Russia while they are extremely weak. They are never going to be this weak again unless they start a nuclear holocaust. I agree. Trump must be removed from office. You are preaching to the choir. I could not agree more. Well, yeah, but altered carbon, that's for German defense, right? That's not for Ukraine. Now, some of that money might end up in Ukraine. Some of the weapons it gets spent on might end up in Ukraine. But as I understand it, that $500 billion is for Germany's defense. From your lips to God's ear, Mike Kelly 119. From your lips to God's ear. Ooh, sorry. Was in that $500 billion, was there cash for Ukraine? Not enough, Mel. Not enough protests in the United States. I'm with you, V. Russia is so weak. You know why Putin's afraid to stop this war, or one of the reasons why? Not only are the ultra-nationalist Russian mill blogger community and ultra-nationalist community opposed to a ceasefire, and they're the guys with all the guns in Russia, right? Like if you're worried about a palace coup or an assassination, those are the people to be afraid of. And they are not happy about this ceasefire arrangement. They have been mocking Putin as taking orders from Trump, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nicola, that's a tough question because there's a variety of means and methods. And the difficulty is that the enforcement of these means and methods is entirely dependent on the political will of the American political class. And what these people have shown is that they don't have a will of their own, right? They just bend in the wind. Trump says, pass this nightmare budget or I'll shut down the government. So they cave and they pass the budget. Now, I'm not in favor of government shutdowns. Don't get me wrong. I'm not in favor of it. But when the budget is so ill-conceived and immoral, then I think that government shutdown might be something to consider. Anyway, we have about 9 minutes left, guys, because I am going to call it quits at midnight here. Yep, Bip, we need to oppose them at every opportunity. Is anybody here thinking about buying a Tesla? Are we all buying Teslas these days? No. John, I'm with you. Europe does not need Trump. I almost said Vladimir Trump. You might as well, right? That's what's happening, Uncle Christopher, right? Trump and Elon are running unchecked, and they've given a big FU to the judiciary today, making moves to impeach, what's the guy's name? Bozeman? That doesn't quite sound right. Anyway, federal judge who made a determination Trump didn't like because it's rooted in the rule of law. Europe doesn't need Trump, and especially not. Oh, Elonia. I thought it said Estonia. Mike Kelly. Pardon me. Bernard, that's funny. How many MAGA to change a light bulb? None. Trump says he did it, and they all cheer in the dark. Is it Bose? Bose what? That's a funny name. But anyway. Boseberg, that's it. That's it, Spirit of Ukraine. You got it. I don't, with all due respect, Eli, I don't think it was Alito. It was Roberts, who's the, not chairman. What do they call the head of the Supreme Court? Chief Justice, sorry. It was Roberts, right. It was Roberts. And it's a pretty scathing indictment about the checks and balances. Our constitutional checks and balances. The problem is the chief law enforcement officer in the United States has zero interest in the rule of law. The whole tariffs thing is just a grift to line his own pockets, devalue the dollar, drive the stock market down so that he and his billionaire friends can pick up lots of bargains and come out of this thing with owning more of the wealth of the nation. So it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I don't know, Shark. I don't think we can recover from 4 more years of Trump. I think if Trump is left in there for his whole term, it'll be done. Will be done. You know, I mean, maybe part of Trump and Putin's plan. This is totally crazy. I'm going to say something totally crazy now. And the worst part is some of you are going to be like, oh no, Trump could do that. Right? This is the crazy thought that just went through my sleep-deprived brain. Just suppose that the Molotov-Ribbentrop pact that Trump and Putin have is a limited nuclear exchange that they can blame on Ukraine or the escalation of allied partners. And in this post-apocalyptic nightmare world, Trump declares himself president for life, right under martial law, bankrupts the United States and consolidates wealth and power in the hands of a few, just like the Russians did at the end of the USSR. Trump is selling out the U.S. wholesale. You are not wrong. It's cold tonight, so all the windows and doors are closed. I don't know if you can hear any of that, but air defense is very active. How do we keep up hope during these dark times? It's getting harder and harder to sleep at night. And I get it, precious hair. And look, none of us are going to be able to fix everything. So you got to do what you can. One of the regular viewers of this channel is painting rocks yellow and blue and hiding them around town. And every time somebody finds one of those rocks and takes it home, sets it on the windowsill, puts it in the garden, every time they see it, they are reminded that this war is not over. They are reminded that Donald Trump is in the White House, and for him, Ukraine is the enemy to be beaten into submission, not the Russians. So, what to do about it during these dark times? Trump depends on ignorance, right? Like, very few people can get up and leave the United States and come to Ukraine. I'm not suggesting that. Though if you can, and you come here with the right intention to try to do something on behalf of or for the people of Ukraine, then I would encourage anybody to undertake such a mission once you have given it the appropriate amount of serious consideration for what you're undertaking, right? It is not an easy thing to live with air defense day in and day out. It's not. So very few people can do what I have done. And I get that. But everybody can do something, right? Like Blue Star 6 painting those rocks. Every one of those rocks becomes a ripple of hope, becomes a reminder that the war in Ukraine persists and that there needs to be something done. Volunteer Ukraine, right? If you can actually do something, if you have the time, the talent, etc. The IT army of Ukraine, never leave your basement, but do something for Ukraine. In this age where Trump depends on ignorance to get his way, take a class, learn something, learn some immigration law. Maybe you have no intention of becoming a lawyer, but you want to be there for the people in your community when ICE comes along and takes green card holding immigrants married to American citizens, or even worse, American citizens who are not native born. ICE comes after them. Or like that girl down in California at the Tijuana border. She spent over 6 weeks in jail now. She's German, trying to come into the country. She had her tattoo kit with her. She's a tattoo artist. And the border guards were afraid she was going to work while she was here. Motherfucker. That girl's life is wrecked. 6 weeks in a goddamn ICE detention cell for the idea she might tattoo somebody and charge them for it while she was here. Ridiculous. So in this age of ignorance, go learn something, precious hair. Do it just for yourself. Whatever it is, do it. Learn. In an age where ignorance is celebrated, just learning is an active act of defiance. In this age of unparalleled lies, insist aggressively on the truth in all things. And finally, I would say choose love. Do something for somebody else. And if we all do all of that all the time, not only will we get through this, but we'll get everybody else through it. Good night, Roy. Oh, Rasu, I didn't even hear about that. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. I was listening to the guy who's in charge of ICE now. He was in an interview on CNN. He has no respect for the Constitution of the United States in any way. Zero. Zero. Oh, the hens are laying, are they, Chef Deb? Nice. So, guys, again, I want to thank Arn, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. I'm sorry for the confusion about the time between daylight savings time and the ban. It's a tricky business. Or I just fucked it up, whatever. The kidney transplant doctor returned to Lebanon. Oh, my God. Unbelievable. Oh, my God. His name wasn't Francis Buzad, was it? That would hurt me deeply. I know a doctor in Pittsburgh. We went to college together. Kid's name is Francis Buzad. He was Lebanese. I don't know how he did it, but every summer coming back from break, he would smuggle a big old chunk of that Lebanese blonde back into the U.S. It would last us to January. It's amazing. Okay. So, guys, I am going to call it a night. It's just past midnight here. I'm going to go get that 8 hours pH. There's a lot going on, guys. So stay tuned for more updates. And I will see you all in tomorrow night's live. Since I got through this one without getting banned. Amen. 5. Hey, Arn, there you are, pal. 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's 11 p.m. Eastern European Time. Until the end of the month, until the 30th, when Ukraine does daylight savings time, we're going to be an hour earlier than we normally are. Okay, thanks, everybody. Make it a great day. Good night, everybody.